Okay, so this is the video of something. Alright, here we go. And I'm going to, well, I guess I might as well start from here. Hopefully it won't be too long of a video. I can lower that a little bit. I need to write on this. I need to click on pen. No, I need to click on this. So number 1 says find the quotient. So I just want you to tell me if the quotient, the answer to the division problem, if it's positive or negative. Without dividing, explain your reasoning. Well, so it's positive and negative, so my answer is going to be negative because the signs are different, so I'm not going to write that, okay? So negative divided by negative, the answer is going to be a positive. Remember, when both numbers are negative, they're the same signs, it's going to be positive. And this is going to be a negative answer, okay? A negative because I'm going to divide the top by the bottom. It's, so this says divide these two numbers and then bring the negative sign to the answer. So and eventually the answer is going to be negative. Which one does not belong? Well, this is going to be equal to negative 2 because it's positive divided by negative, so it's negative 2. Negative divided by positive is still negative, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. Negative divided by negative is positive, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. And last one, this almost looks like this guy over here. So the negative is going to hang out here, right? And we're going to do inside the parentheses. What's 10 divided by 5? It's 2, right? Remove the parentheses, and we have the negative 2. So which one is different? This is different, right? Keep going. So again, these are just for you. I mean, the division is not really my concern yet. But so this is negative 3 because the signs are different. This is positive, and it's going to be positive 3. This is going to be negative 2 because the signs are different. The signs are the same, so it's positive. So positive 3. Negative, right, because 54 divided by 9, now it's 6. 0 divided by anything is just 0. This is 50 divided by 5, which is negative 10. And then I'm going to divide it by 2. And a negative divided by positive gives me negative 5. This one, do these two first. Negative 4, 54 divided by 9 is negative 6. And then I divide that by negative 2. I'm going to get positive 3 because both signs are the same. Okay. Moving along. Now with these, I really want you to be careful how you substitute. So literally, substitution states that we just gotta remove the letter and replace it with the given value. So instead of x, I'm gonna write 10, and instead of y, I'm gonna write negative 2. Let me put that in parentheses. Positive divided by negative is a negative, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. Likewise, I got a 10, and then y. Y here is negative 2, so let me write the negative. Y is negative 2. I'm going to take that to the second power and divide that by z, which is negative 5. Careful how you do this. Order of operation, you have to do the exponent first, so I'm going to get 10. And negative 2 to the second power is negative 2 times negative 2. Negative times a negative is a positive, and 2 times 2 is 4. So this is 4. So I'm going to change that and write 10 times 4, and then divide by negative 5. Continuing, 10 times 4 is 20. Divide by negative 5. And positive divided by negative is a negative, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. Now it has some absolute value here, so let me put this, absolute value. So x is 10 times z, which is negative 5. I'll put that in parentheses. Over y. Be careful how, because this says, let me put this says minus y. That's what it says here at the bottom. So here's my minus y. So let me write it, right? So what's our job? Our job is to take the y, and that's all I'm going to do. Remove the y, and I'm going to put in a negative 2. That's how you substitute this particular one. Okay, so be really careful. Continuing. So let's simplify. So on the top, 10 times negative 5 is negative 50. And at the bottom, I don't know if you remember this, but remember, when there is no number outside the parentheses, you can imagine there's a little 1 here. Right? So what's a negative times a negative? It's a positive, and 1 times 2 is 2. So now we have still absolute value, right? We haven't gone that far yet. Negative 50 divided by 2 is negative 25. So now we've simplified everything to a single number, negative 25. And what's the absolute value of negative 25? How far away is negative 25 from 0? It's 25 units away. So the answer is 25. Last one, I'm going to write it out. I think it's better if I write it out. X squared plus 6z over y. So I want to show you how I do this by really. So I'm going to take the x out. Let me just erase it. And I'm going to replace it with its value, which is 10. Now take the z out. Replace it with -5. And I'm going to take the whatever this is, the y out, and I'm going to replace it with -2. That's substitution, right? Substitute. Careful here. This 2 applies to the 10. So there's the minus. And what's 10 to the second power? It's 10 times 10, which is 100. Plus, what's 6 times -5? Well, 6 times -5, it's a positive times a negative, so it's going to be a negative answer. So I'm going to put it like that. And what's 6 times 5? 30. All divided by -2. Continuing. On the top, negative plus a negative, it's going to be negative, right? They're all friendlies. 100 plus 30 is going to be 130. Divided by -2. Now it's division. Negative divided by negative is a positive. And 130 divided by 2 is 65. Okay, an airplane descends. So again, we have an airplane flying. So the airplane in the sky, it's flying. And it's right now, so here's the ground. He is at 1,200 feet above, right? So here's 0, and that's where he is right now. And what descends from now to the 1,000 feet above ground to the ground. So it took him 4 minutes to come from here to here, to go all the way. So to go all the way to the ground took him 4 minutes. So how many feet per minute was a change in altitude? Change in altitude. Well, it's going to be 1,200 divided by 4, right? And we're going to go. That's going to be 300 feet. Right. So the change in altitude per minute was 300 feet. And so, and then. Wait.
Oh, my voice got recorded. Can we use this?
Yeah. So the mean here, to find the mean, says find the mean of the integers. To find the mean, we have to add them all up and then divide, right? Remember the mean from last year. So we're going to take 3 plus -10 plus -2 plus 13 plus 11, right? And then we're going to divide that all by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 numbers, so that's fine. That's how we find the average. Okay. So 3 plus -10 is -7, right? -7 plus -2, that equals -9. And then -9 plus 13, -9 plus 13. Is that 13 positive? Yeah, it's 13 positive. I'm just going to erase this because there should have been no brackets. Oh, this gets confusing. So -9 plus 13, there's more positive. It's going to be 4. And then 4 plus 11, right? We got 4, and then plus that 11 equals 15. So the whole top gives you an answer 15. And what's 15 divided by 5? It's 3. So the mean, the average in here is 3. Second one, same thing. -26 plus 39 minus, sorry, we're going to add, right? So we're adding plus -10 plus -16 plus 12 plus 31. We're going to do all that and divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to divide this time by 6. So again, do it 2 by 2. So let's do these two first. -26 plus 39 is going to be positive 13, right? And then 13 plus -10, I'm going to do with this guy. And I get positive 3. And then this 3 plus -16, so I'm doing 2 at a time, right? 3 plus -16 equals more negatives, equals -13. -13, now I do it plus 12, equals -1. And -1 plus 31, so -1 plus 31 is going to give me 30. So the whole top equals 30 divided by 6 means that my average is 5. Okay, so that's pretty simple. In 1997, Tiger Woods became the youngest golfer to win the Masters. His score. So in golf, I don't like these questions because it's, you know, how many of you do play golf, or maybe it's not really fun. So Amanda plays golf. Thanks, Amanda. So these were his scores for the 4 days he played. Each day he got first day he got -2, second day he got -6, -3, -7, -3. So what was his total score? So we first have to add all of them. -2 plus, I'll put in parentheses, -6 plus -7 plus -3 plus -3. So let's find out what his total score was. -2 and -6 is -8, -8, -7, -15. -15 and -3 is -18. Am I right? 8 and 10. No? 10. Yeah. So his total score for the 4 days was -18. I think that was the record, by the way. Now, what was his mean? Again, we want the average. So the average is -18 divided by 4. And that's going to be -4.5. Right? Negative divided by positive is a negative. And 18 divided by 4 is 5. So I'm right. And then here we have a ton more. Now, I don't know how much you remember about equations. So, and I guess I can do this in 2 ways. But I'd like to do it how you learned it last year. So first one, -5 t equals -45. So you're thinking of, if this says -5 times a number that I don't know, which is what the t is representing, equals -45. Now, in order for the answer to be negative, this number here has to be positive. Because if I put a negative number here, a negative times a negative equals, it's going to be a positive. So we don't want a negative number. We want a positive number. So what times 5 equals 45? It would be 9. So the answer, t equals 9. Now, that's one way of doing it, which is not my my way of preference. You can use fact families, which is how we did the first 3 problems today. Another fact that I can use is so I have -5 times a number equals -45. I can use division, right? So I can go -45 and use what I know, divided by -5. That equals 9, and that's how I get that number. The other way of doing it, which is the more 7th grade, the level 7th grade, and that's how I want you to do it. Closet. Is by isolating the variable. So remember last year, we're going to divide this by -5. We're going to divide this by -5. These two simplify to 1, and I got t equals -45 divided by -5 is just 9. So this is my preferred way. So here, same thing. So we want to isolate the variable. By isolating the variable, I want to get rid of the 8 and divide both sides by 8. And d equals -9, because it's a negative divided by a positive, and that gives me a negative. Same thing here. Divide by -6, divide by -6, cross them out. And p equals -8. This one says half of m equals -4. So when it's a fraction, we want to multiply by the reciprocal. So let me write this out. So I want to multiply this side by the reciprocal of the coefficient. So it's going to be 2/1. And multiply this side by 2/1. These two will all simplify to just 1, and 1 times n is just m. Remember how to multiply this? We can put this over 1 and multiply across. -4 times 2 is -8 over 1, which is the same thing as just simply -8. So m, the value that's missing here, is -8. So definitely you can do it like this. I'd much rather you do it like this, in case you remember. If you don't remember, you should start remembering really fast, because we're going to be doing a lot of this. Now, likewise here, so this one, right, and I just want to write it bigger, t over n equals -7. So we have a coefficient, what do you call, a coefficient of a half, actually, right? Multiply this side by 2, and if I multiply the left side by 2, I must multiply the right side by 2. These two simplify to 1, and I get n equals -14. This one, like same thing. No, actually, this is not the same thing. This one you can use. This says a number divided by 28 divided by number equals 7. And the only number that's going to be is 7. So you just got to figure out if it's going to be +7 or -7. And in this case, positive divided by positive is a positive, so you need to attach a negative sign over here. This one likewise, let me multiply both sides by 4. times 4, times 4. Cross out, right? And I get, actually, I apologize, I should be multiplying this by negative 4. So times negative 4, and on this side times negative 4. So this negative and this negative becomes a positive, and these two simplify to 1. So I have b left over. On the other side, negative 40, negative 4 times negative 10 is just 40. You can always substitute to check your answer, right? So this says that negative 10 equals the same thing as 40 over 4. Is that true? Well, this is negative 10, and 40 minus sign over here. 40 divided by 4 is 10. So you know that you got the right answer. So in each of the previous one, you can, and I forgot, we can do a solve and check, right? So a number, negative 1 divided by a number that I don't know equals, equals 3. Let me see if I can, I'm trying to figure out a simpler way of showing you how to do this. But let's see. We're going to cross multiply in this one. I'm going to put the 3 over 1, all right? Because my variable is at the bottom. I need to get my variable on the numerator. So we're going to cross multiply. So 3 times z is 3z. And we'll cross multiply these two. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. We're going to divide both sides by 3. And these will simplify. And then z equals negative 1/3. Okay. These, I will do the word problems because hopefully, oh, actually, let me do up to number 6. You should be okay, actually. This is going to be positive 5, right? Because negative times a negative. This is going to be a negative number, negative 21. This is going to be negative 9. Negative divided by negative. This is going to be positive 11. This, just to review what you did with fractions and division. So it's negative 1/7 divided by 3/4. How do we divide? Well, you were taught to multiply by the reciprocal. So to change the division to multiplication, I'm going to use the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3. Now we can multiply across. Negative times a positive is a negative. 1 times 4 is 4. And 7 times 3 is 21. So here's my answer to number 5. All right, so likewise, you can follow suit with the rest of one. So this number 6 is negative 5/8. I'm going to change that to multiplication. The reciprocal of 5 over 16 is negative 16 over 5. We can simplify. Well, I know it's negative divided times a negative, which is positive. This simplifies, right? It becomes a 1 and 1. 16 and 8 simplifies to 1 and 2. So my answer becomes 2 over 1, or just 2. 7 3/5 divided by negative 4. I'm going to put that over 1. 3/5 times 1 over negative 4. 3 times 1 is 3. At the bottom, 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. Number 8, no difference. Just make that 10 into a fraction. 10 over 1. 6/5 times, right, the reciprocal is now 1 over 10. Simplify, you can go 6 times 1 is 6, and 5 times 10 is 15. I don't need you to simplify unless you really need to, but it's okay here. 9, negative 6 times, right, I'm going to multiply it by the reciprocal, which is 4/3. Let's put the 6 over 1. Negative times a negative is a positive, and 6 times 4 is 24 over 3, which is 8. 10, it's a complex fraction. So I think it's easier if you guys rewrote the fraction like this. Divided by, and we're going to change negative 5 over 12 to an improper fraction. Remember? 12 times 2 is 24. 24 plus 5 is 27. So this is going to become 27 over 12. Negative, by the way. Now we can do our little change, right? So stay the same, change it to multiplication, and we're going to use a reciprocal, which is negative 12 over 27. We can simply multiply across. Negative times a negative is a positive, and 2 times 12 is 24. And at the bottom, 7 times 27 is 49, goes 4, looks like 189, I think. Likewise, for 11, let's change 4.5 to negative 9 over 2, divided by 1 and 3/14. 14 times 1 is 14. We're going to change that to 17 over 14, but negative. right? So write it horizontally. Change the multiplication, and we're going to change this to its reciprocal, which is 14 over 17. Multiply across, negative times negative is a positive. 9 times 14, I have no idea. 6, 3, 126, 2 times 17, it looks like 34. I'm not going to simplify because I don't want to. But that would have been completely fine. Last one, 3 over 2 divided by 9 over 8 negative. Oh, 3 over 2 times negative 8 over 9. Remember, we're multiplying by the reciprocal, multiply across, so we can simplify. This becomes a 1, a 3, a 1, and a 4. And 1 times negative 4 is 4, and 1 times 3 is 3. You get negative 4 over 3, or 1 and 1 third. 13. 32 divided by the opposite of 4. So, write that question down. 32 divided by the opposite of 4, which is negative 4. Negative 8. The quotient of the opposite of 30, so the answer to opposite of 30, which is negative 30, divided by opposite of 6, which is negative 6, and that gives you a positive 5. You gotta read the questions carefully. 15. 15 in a sports competition, Alyssa was penalized with negative 16, okay? She received the same number of penalty points in each of 4 events. How many points was she penalized in each event? So as an expression, I would write it negative 16 divided by the 4 events. And that gives me negative 4. So in each event, she got penalized 4 points. Temperature in Syracuse was 95. By Wednesday, the temperature was half of that. So 47.5. The assembly of machine takes 3/4 of an hour. There are 12 steps in the assembly process. What is the average time for each step? So it's 3/4, right? That's 1 step. And we're going to do this 12 times. And the machine. There are 12 steps, sorry. We're going to divide, sorry, my bad. It took 3/4 of an hour. And it was, okay, so it took 3/4. Total time spent was 3/4 of an hour. I'm going to divide that by 12 because there were 12 steps. So you did 12 steps in 3/4 of an hour. Let's see how many steps each, how much time each step took. So 3/4 divided by 12, or 3/4. Let me put this over 1 times 1 over 12. It becomes 3 over 48, or 1 over 16. 1/16 of an hour. That's how long each step took. How many quarter something pound packets of plant food can the garden shop make out of 8 pounds? Okay, so you have 8 pounds. You want to divide this by quarter pounds, right? So 8. Let me put that as a fraction. Times 4 over 1. Right? We're going to multiply by the reciprocal, and we can make 32 packets of plants. 19. High school athletic department bought 40 soccer uniforms at $3,000 at a cost of $3,000. After the season, they returned some of the uniforms, but only received 40 per uniform. What was the difference between what they each paid for uniform and what they got in return? Oh, so in the beginning of the season, they spent $3,000. Divide that by 40. Alexa, what's 3,000 divided by 40?
3,000 divided by 40 is 75.
That's how much they spent per uniform, okay, at the beginning of the season. Then, at the end of the season, they returned it and got $40 back. So, minus 40, right? Which means, so if they got $40 back because they returned the uniform, it means that each uniform actually cost $35. What was the difference paid? The difference paid was $35 from what they got in return. So $35 times 40, right? Because they got that, sorry, $35 times 40 was $1,400, right? So they spent $3,000. At the end of the season, they got $1,400 back, which means they actually spent $1,600. Okay. A commuter has $245 in his savings account. It changes by negative 15 because he buys a ticket. In one time period, the account changed by negative 240. How many weeks did the commuter buy tickets? So, so 240 divided divided by negative 15. So that's how much he spent. This right total spent, and this is how much he spent per week. Alexa, what's 240 divided by 15?
240 divided by 15 is 16.
So that means that how many weeks did the commuter buy tickets? Well, he bought tickets for 16 weeks, right? Because he spent $240, and to spend $240, it was done by spending $15 per week. And how many weeks did it take to spend 240? 16 weeks. How much must he add to his account? He wants to have $20 worth of tickets in his account. Well, he spent 240, so he had 245. He spent 240, 60 weeks. That means he has 5 in his account. To have 20 weeks worth, well, let's see what 20 weeks worth equals to. 20 weeks, 20 weeks worth of tickets, right? It's going to cost him $300. Well, he already has $5 in that account, so he literally only has to put $295. The surface temperature of a deep spring-fed lake is 70. Okay. The lake drops 2 for each yard below the surface. So each yard, it drops 2 degrees, right? Until a depth of 6 yards. So here's 0. Oh, okay. So maybe I want to redo this again. So here's the surface, right? And at the surface, which is 0, the temperature is 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So when you go 1 yard down, the temperature is 68. Right? If you go another yard down, it's 66. If you go another yard down, it's 64 because it drops by. So we're going to go below the surface until a depth of 6 yards is reached. Depth of 6 yards. So I guess that's what it means. So from negative 6 yards, the temperature is 64. From negative 6 to negative 15, the temperature is constant. So from negative 6, negative 8, negative 10, negative 12, negative 14, and I'm going to write like a half here. So from negative 6 to negative 15, it's still constant at 64 degrees. So all this from here to here, the temperature stays at 64. From 15 yards down, so from negative 15 to the spring source, the temperature increases 3 Fahrenheit per foot until the spring source is reached at 20 yards below the surface. So 20 yards times 3 gives me 60 feet. Right? We're still going to go down. So we are negative 15, and we're going to go down 60 feet more. Right? 15 yards. We're going to go 15 yards down, which is from here we're going to go another 15 yards. So we're going to be a negative 30. And 15 yards is the same thing as 60 feet. And the temperature increases 3 per foot. So times 3, 60 times 3, there's an increase of 180. So if you were at 64, and now the temperature increases, weirdly enough. So if you increase, if you're at 64, the temperature will go up. So 180 degrees plus 64 is going to be 244. So the temperature down here is 244 degrees. Now, 15 yards to spring source. The springs reach 20. No, that's right. No, I went too far down. Sorry, ignore what I just said. So we want to go. He's at 15 yards. Right now we're at 15 yards. We're going to go down to 20 yards. 20 yards is the same thing, or that's an extra 5 yards. So 5 yards times 3, that's 15 feet. So in 15 feet times 3, I probably lost half of you by now. So that's 45. So 64 plus 45, because there's an increase in temperature, that's going to give us 5 plus 9 is 109. So the temperature here should be 109. And then I'm gonna skip this. Don't even do this. Do the first one if you like, but don't do B and C. I don't like the question. The quotient of 12 and the opposite of 3. So the quotient, right? The answer to 12 and the opposite of 3 plus the product of the opposite of 14, product of the opposite of 14 and 4. So this is what we're looking for. So 12 divided by negative 3 is 4. And this is going to give me 56, negative by the way. And my final answer looks like it's going to be negative 52. So do me a favor, 22, if you didn't hear me yet, don't do this one. Okay? And that's, oh, and we have one more. And I don't even know if it's worth doing it, but we'll do it anyway. Oh, wow. So that's going to be negative times a positive is a negative, divided. And then this negative divided by this negative is going to give me a positive. So I know my answer is positive. 20 divided by 4 is 5, and 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. And that's it, I think. Now that's it. Wow, 30 minutes. Jeez.